What is Sven covering today? That is a question. Is it a good question? I would like to think so. I don't have my stream up. Looks like my sound is working, but hey, let's verify that for sure. While this is getting pulled up, I'll answer that question we talked about. What is Sven covering today? So when you have running a pre-written module, um, Starfinder and Pathfinder call them adventure paths. Pre-written. D&D has the big books, um, the big giant books. Pathfinder and Starfinder have these little magazine-ish things that are 100, 65-ish, 65, 70, 80 pages long. And there's usually anywhere from 3 to 6 in the adventure path. FantasyCon makes it easier. The D&D ones are like $50, 30 to $50, depending on what they are. Paizo and Starfinder are a bit more expensive because there's so many of them. They're 20 to $30, and then you have to get the whole series, the whole adventure path. But what I'm getting at is when you're using one of these things that's already pre-written, already pre-made, you've got the story, you've got the setting, you've got all the stuff. How do you run those things? Well, everybody's different. Everybody has different little ways. Let me check my sound while I'm looking at this. Cool. Looks like I'm live and cooking with gas. So what you do is what I do, and a lot of people do this. There's a lot of videos on how to run pre-made stuff. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But basically, you want to read it through from cover to cover, and then go back through again and start making notes. If you're doing it real life, I typically have like a spiral bound notebook or a 3-ring notebook that I then just keep notes on, jot locations, highlight if it's not something. I am very, we'll say particular, although some people would say anal, about books in general. I can read a paperback book from cover to cover, and when I'm done, you don't know anybody has touched this book. Because I'm very careful. I read it like this. I never crack the seam. I read one page, flip it to the next one, turn it, flip, read it. That's how I read paperback books. It's just instinctive at this point. I've been doing it for many years. And I'm the same way with my D&D books and stuff. Other people don't care. They buy it, so they'll whip it open, crease, break the seam. They'll leave notes, highlight, scribble on the side, whatever works for you. The point is you want to read it through once without doing anything, just keeping a mental thing, and then go through like the first part, the first chapter again, me leaving little notes. What are you noting? Things that you need to remember. Things that you want to point out, ideas that you might have that you want to incorporate, add to, or take away from what's written here. So, what you want to do is also think, what if your characters don't do what's written in the book? How much are you going to railroad them? You also need to think about your players. You know, I have 2 very different teams of people I play with. And one group, I'll say, okay, what do you want to do? And I'll just sit there and look at each other and wait for the next person to say something. Another group I'll have 4 people talking at once. Everybody has ideas, and it's hard to pin down. Okay, you said this, you then said this. what are you going to do? So they're both challenging in different ways. The point is, think about your players. And so, how are you going to guide them toward what you want? Um, it can be as simple as the book says when you get to the split in the road, go left. If they go right, guess what? What was on the left is now on the right. It can be as simple as that. Um, it could be that they are supposed to take a ship and go to this island. Well, they want to go explore a dungeon. Okay, they get to the dungeon and you have a couple a fight outside the dungeon, and you go down and you realize it's caved in. There's nothing there. Simple as that. Is just a couple different ways, things you can do, or you can do what I did. They want to go explore the dungeon first. Okay, so they explore the dungeon. Now they're, they've earned experience, like half a level's experience, or a full level's experience, whatever the case might be. In my case, they went up like 3 levels higher than they're supposed to be in the book in the storyline because they were wandering off doing their own stuff, and then remind them of the story and get them back on track. So there's lots of different choices, lots of different ways of doing things. Um, so first of all, let me take a quick caveat, quick timeout to say, sup, Hero Squad. How's Mr. Atomic today? Let's see what he was messing with before he decided to join us. Smite. Playing a little Smite. Very cool. Um, he does a lot of different things. So check him out. Atomic_Hero Squad. Great guy, great stream every morning. Check him out. Um, so in this particular story that we're at, we just concluded book 1. We're now on to a book 2. Uh, we do this every other Sunday night, so we'll be playing it this Sunday night, which, by the way, I notice I don't really mention the dates much, but the 21st of November, and then the 5th of December, etc., etc. So if you're interested in the Dawn of Flame, go to YouTube, search Spencer77, look at my playlist. It's all there. Right now we're at Dawn of Flame 18. We've done 17 episodes so far. Anyway, so what had happened is they're about ready to wrap up the next part of this chapter. Well, they're in a museum, and the museum gets attacked, or not really attacked, but looks like somebody's robbing the place. The robbery is mostly a cover-up. This big group hired a smaller group who hired another group to go rob the bank, rob this museum. Their main goal is to get a bunch of information from the computer. That's the main goal. The rest of the robbery is just more of a cover-up, just to try to disguise what their true intent was. So they're in here. They're about ready to wrap up the fight. All they have left is they're fighting this air elemental, and then they have one other person to fight. Um, there we go. So that's where they are now. So when they finish this combat, there's now a bunch of information, big info dump. But the problem is, this is because it's Starfinder. Unlike D&D or even in D&D, a lot of times you got to do and you got to investigate. You got to, the players have to know what to do and where to look. The nice thing about this particular story is it's not just up to the players. So there's a couple different things I wanted to discuss real quick. First of all, logistically, how am I going to handle this? Well, first we want to go to the story. Here's the story in the book. Um, so this is 1A00. So we go to our stories here on the side. We find Dawn of Flame AP2, which is what we're doing now. This is the first section, deep cut. All right, so this is the bloodshots. Okay, so these are all the drop downs of the information they can find. DCI follow-up, here it is. Wrapping up, that's what I was looking for, wrapping up the break-in. So in the book, you got a full page of text that is on this side, a full page of text of all the information they can find out, depending on how they do the how they proceed with their investigation. And so, as it says right here, the PCs have a few minutes to investigate further. Soon, however, a security specialist arrives with a observer class robot and NIB, their point of contact here, to secure the surviving gang members and make an official report. So the nice thing is, if the players fail at their roles, or if they just are floundering and don't really know what to ask or who to ask, we can then say, well, hey, this investigator asked them this. The investigator does this. So it makes it nice. I'm going to go ahead and kill the map for a moment. Just going to minimize it. Click, right click on it. Go up here to about 2 o'clock. It says minimize. And that makes a little bubble, which you can then pop open later. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the font size a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. If you're on your phone, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. But you can go to computer later and check it out. Scale UI 115. Bam. All right. So you can see I lose a lot of real estate, but that's okay. Screen real estate. Lock it. There it is. Boom. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and make it bite-sized chunks that I can drop into the chat as story entries. I mean, as little bubbles story. I don't know exactly what they're called. Not really story entry. This is a story entry, but as a little chat text, so they can read it as you're explaining what's going on and what they're doing. So this is where you can do your notes. See how they have it laid out. I know how it's laid out in the book, so now it's just a matter of seeing how is it laid out in Fantasy Grounds. Every one is different. The way people convert it from this to Fantasy Grounds is going to be different depending on every single one you do. Sometimes even the same person, like me, I do these type of conversions myself. Sometimes I'll even change how I do it from one project to another. So you just have to see how they do it, get in their rhythm, and then tweak it so that it's easiest for you to know what's going on. Okay, so we're looking at wrapping up the break-in. Nib allows them to complete their investigation. She or the specialist can help steer the PCs who hit a snag in their efforts. So the book actually says what I just said a moment ago. So it makes it nice. All right, so investigations. So what I'm going to do then, see, so they've done some of my work already, what I was talking about. So you, for example, the cryogenerics. If it says a PC who succeeds at a DC-20 culture check knows this information, and they've made it right here. Boom. You just click this. It says culture check. You know the cooling is an industry system. Boom. So that's what I was talking about doing. Taking those information they find out, making it into speech bubbles or little thing you can share in chat for them. Um, I personally, I know some game masters who say, click, there you go, read it. Other people won't share it at all and will only talk it, and and I'm sort of a mix between the two. I drop it in there and then I paraphrase it to my own uh, as I explain it to them. Um, so the biggest thing it looks like I want to do right here is take these. So these are the different. It's just divided up into different sections. So for example, as they're doing their research, the gang that did it, that was hired by the second group, which was hired by the big bad guy, is called the Bloodshots. So they want to try to investigate those. Here's the information on that. So I'm going to click on this where it says Bloodshots and change it into a chapter. So by doing Control 2, it's now a chapter heading. Um, the other way you can do that, you can. So I'm also going to take. Here, so the warehouse in Corona. I'm going to highlight this. Let's see if it'll let me change it. Okay, it does not. All right, that's weird. Let's see. Huh, interesting. It won't let me change it to the italics. Okay. Um, so here's the second group, is Cryogenerics. And again, I could just click the cursor in the line anywhere or the paragraph, and you can change it by hitting Control. And what I'm actually looking at is the format. So if we go to the right click on it, instead, go here, paragraph types. I'm changing the paragraph type. And the paragraph types to choose from is body text, which is what all this is. Heading, which is what I've been changing it to. So this is Control 1, Control 2. Chat frame, which is what this is here, where it says Vadok. Mama makes those deals herself. A list, a link, and a table. So these are all control buttons, short keys as well. Control 1, Control 2, 3, 4, 5, Control 6. In this case, this is a heading. So hit there, boom. So as I'm skimming through this, I can then find it easier. Now again, this is taking up a lot of real estate on my screen, but that's because I have my UI scale at 115. Typically I'm at 85. And I also have a special font extension running right now. So the font is bigger, which is probably why I can't change this into italics. Normally the font, everything is much smaller, so you won't have anywhere near this much issue. You can see pretty much all this block of text at one glance. Um, and what they've done is they've done the work for me. So it says here, if they succeed, learning who the Keshis are requires a successful DC-15 computer check. And if they learn it, you can just click this, boom, security reports and news feed say the blood shots operate out of a junkyard called the Meltdown. So simple as that. Vadak knows more about this. If they ask him more about what it is, then you can click this, and here it says Vadak. Mama makes those deals himself. So it makes it really easy. They've made it easier by doing most of this work for me. Just skimming through it, making see if there's anything that they didn't think was important that I want to pull out. All right, so say it says here Mama Throsh gave him the astral transponder, claiming she acquired it to help with the job and calling it a codebreaker module. So if I wanted to pull that out, all I would do is I would hit enter to separate it, come down here and hit enter. So now it's separated, and now I can just hit Control 3, which is the body text. I mean the chat box. Click, boom. So now it's there. If I want to say the other thing you can do, so if we Control Z, get rid of what we just did, is you can copy this, Control Z, so we can make it first person. Make it a quote. Mama Throsh gave me the device, claiming she acquired it to help with the job. She gave me the device. She said I needed it to complete the job. She called it some kind of code breaker module. And then what we do is you make this a a chat bubble. Then once you've done that, Control 3, you then go to Assign Speaker. Right click anywhere within this box, go down to Assign Speaker. It puts a little dot in front, put your cursor there, and now you type who is saying it. So now, as they're talking to Vadak, you can make Vadak say, there you go, Mama Karash gave me the device. She said I needed it to complete the job. She's called it some kind of code breaker module. Vadak, and then she can also, if they press her who Mama Throsh is, she says Mama makes those deals herself. Now, one thing I do want to make it specifically says they don't use her name, so I want to make sure I get rid of that. Mama gave me the device. Mama makes those deals herself. All right, so that's how you do it. And the two different ways you can make it, you can just make it a story entry that pops up in chat, or like an actual speech bubble. If you're a quick typist, you can also click here. So if we go to, let's see, we'll go to the combat tracker, for example. It'll take just a minute to pop up. So here's Vadak. If I click on him and say, let's see, let's go to the top of the thing, boom. Open. All right, so you'll notice when you open up the character, the NPC sheet, let's see, there's a speech bubble here. You can click on that, and that then lets you speak as them. So anything so once I have Vadak selected, I can say, You do-gooders. Don't do no good. It says Vadak. Boom. So if you would rather just type, this is also convenient if you want. So Vadak speaks Castravellian, so you can have him say that. You do good is do no good. It's not only Vadak, but it's also in Castravellian. If the player doesn't understand it, it says here understood by. So it tells you who understood it. And if they don't understand it, all they see is Vadak and they see this. So you can make it a little bit more realistic. And the same thing is true for D&D. So if they're interrogating somebody that they've caught, he can be speaking in Orcish or Elvish, and that way only people knowing it, those languages, would be able to understand it. And you can also take these things. So if I wanted to do Mama makes it herself, as long as this is unlocked, I can highlight it, Control C, slap it into the chat here, and then hit enter. Oops, here, let me do it again. Delete, there we go. So now it just says Mama makes it herself, enter. So again, it's him speaking in his language with the quote that's already there. So it's already in your story, you don't have to type it yourself. But that way, there we go. Shift, one last example, put this in there. Come on. There we go. Change it to the solar and change it to he speaks Primordian. Oh, no, he doesn't. Ignorant. That's what it is. What are you, ignorant? Boom. So again, it has the quote, who understands it, and it's attributed to the solar adapted air elemental. So you have a lot of choices on how you want to prepare, how you want to give the information to your players. Within the chat box, go back to GM. It's one thing you want to get in the habit of doing. So like also another thing I'll do is they listen at the door. So the people on the other side of the door are speaking in Ignan or Orcish or whatever the case, the Goblin. And so you type in what the player hears in that language. Boom. What'd you hear? I don't know. What was it? So you can also whisper to an individual player like this too, just like you would normally. Just click and drag this to their portrait, and it'll just go to that person. And then if they don't understand that language, they'll just see the text. If they do understand it, they'll see the text, but then it'll also be the translation. So that's some cool things you can do with Fantasy Grounds. Passing on the specific information, making it a little bit more realistic, a little bit more immersive, and making those languages that nobody cares about usually a little bit more useful. I have a couple in the. I've had many pairs of players. A lot of times will use the text, they'll use the chat and chat to each other in their specific language. So they're in the middle of a fight, and one of them will run out, will yell out, make sure we're not killing them. We want to use non-lethal damage. We want to capture one of them, or capture the one with the red hat, and he'll type that in Orcish, knowing that only one other character rather, understands Orcish. So they'll talk to each other. Even the rest of the party doesn't know what they're saying. So it just makes it more realistic, more immersive for your fantasy / sci-fi settings using these languages that are here in the chat. All right, so here we go. We're just finishing up what we were doing. Control 2. Coming down, DCI staff card is another thing that they're investigating. So with this, I'm going to reread this a couple times because instead of just going step by step by step, the PCs, I would be shocked if they're going to ask go in this or exact order. So by knowing, okay, there's information about the DCI computer, which is Deep Cultures Institute. There's information about the staff key card. There's information about the race, the Akeshtis. Knowing, okay, it exists, so when they ask, I can just zip down to where it is. So let's say you make a mistake. So here's this whole paragraph, and I put Control 2, boom. Now the whole thing is a heading. So I just enter, boom. It's no longer a heading. Simple as that. Um, boom, boom, boom. Control 2. All right, good to go. And then, very cool, for each location in the piece that the PCs uncover, whether it's the Cryogenerics and the Meltdown, give them 400 experience. If the investigator has to help them with that, they don't get the 400 experience. Simple as that. Um, very cool, very nice. Let me close these. I got a bunch of windows open again. All right, and then afterwards, the talks about the minerals that were there that they were stealing. The PCs couldn't steal them themselves, or in which case they'll only get 500 credits for it. Actually, no, they'll get 500 credits from the museum. If they turn them in, then they'll get 1,500 credits. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next page. There's that the follow-up is next. Okay. So there we are. This is more information about the bloodshots. Yep. Cool. All right, so that gives us an idea. It gives me something to work with when they're doing the investigation. Um, the book IRL is a little easier in that I can just see the one page that has all of that stuff, but sharing it with the party is all me. I have to read everything. I'm doing an info dump. It's like a lecture, and I'm just spewing information for 30 minutes. Fantasy Grounds, I think, makes it much easier, much nicer, more immersive, because they can ask questions. I can then click a button, this person responds. I can click a button, the computer tells them this. Um, so, and then if I need to do something on the fly, I can just type it myself. Boom. So I like how it's set up. It just takes a couple minutes. Sometimes these pre-written adventures and modules and things don't have it laid out as well as this one does. They did a pretty good job. So my people are going to finish this fight and do their investigation, which will then lead them to one of those two areas. The cryogenetics, that's where the AP is trying, and the people, everybody's trying to get them to go to this cryogenetics lab because Mama Throsh has a bunch of people there. So the gang members are trying to get them to go there because they think they'll get beat. Um, and the book wants you to go there for the storyline. Um, but we'll see where it goes. I'll get both ready. That's the next thing will all be doing is looking at the story. I'm in part 2, and so now as you look down, we're now going to move on to I'm in part 1. Sorry. Next part is going to part 2. Here's the warehouse. Here's Cryogenerics. So depending on where they go is what happens next. So I'm going to call it there, cutting it a little short today. I've got some other stuff I need to get done. Um, this Sunday night, the 28th, even if you can't catch it live, I'm sorry. Let me try this again. This Sunday night, we're doing this. So if you want to see how it plays out, come check us out. It's 5:30 to 8 on Sundays. Um, and that's Pacific time, 8:30 to 11 Eastern time. Of course, there's also the playlist on YouTube. Just look for Donna Flame under me, Spencer77. Look at my playlist. You'll see the Donna Flame one. Um, but next week, the 28th of November, we're doing another one shot. So last time we had Jingo. He did a one shot called Band on the Run. This time, my players don't even know about it. I'm going to tell them this week. Uh, this time, we're doing a Skitterminder one shot, where the whole crew is made of these little guys. The Skittermanders are small, little furry things with 6 arms and 2 legs, so 8 appendages, and their whole purpose in life is just to help people. This race of Vesk, which are lizard people, sort of similar to Klingons in mentality, came to their planet, said, "Okay, we're going to take over your world." And they're like, "Okay." And the Vesk were like, what do you mean?" Like, "Okay, take over the world. It's yours now." And uh, that's how Skittermanders are. But they're also very squirrely in the sense of the dog from Up. So you say, "Okay, here's 2 credits. Go buy me a soda." "Okay, I'll be happy to." He'll go running to go buy the soda, and on the way he sees a computer terminal that's left open. "Ooh, what's that?" He'll go over and look at that. Shh. And then he'll hear some music from the other room. So, "Oh, what's that?" He'll go look at that. And 3 hours later, he'll come back in the room, and you're like, "Where's my soda?" Like, "Oh, I'll be happy to go get your soda." And he'll go run and get your soda. So it's they're very flighty, very funny, very cutesy. Um, for all those things is reasons why I don't like them. I don't care for them as a GM or as a player. I would never play one typically, but I get the chance of playing one. Zinlu, how are you? He says, "I'm a Skittermander." Yep. But they're very good with their hands, all 6 of them. They're good. They have a bonus to mechanics and engineering, and so they can tear things apart and put things back together. All this stuff. Um, and those of you who watch my stream know that I too have Skittermander tendencies at times when I'm explaining one thing and I'll get sidetracked, and someone will pop up in chat, and then I'll come back and I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, back to my original thought 4 times ago." So it should be a lot of fun. It's a one shot. It might go into 2 depending on how much people get into to the roles that they have, but um, it should be a lot of fun. And we're doing that the 28th of November. If you miss it, I now have a one shot playlist. So you can catch the one Band on the Run that Jingo did. The guy who's doing this is called Bradius Caesar. That's his name. I don't know. Actually, this is one of the times where I don't actually know the person myself. I had never seen his face, but I've been talking to him on the Discord. So, friend of a friend of a friend. So it should be a lot of fun. Come check it out. November 28th. If you miss it, check it out on the U's and the Tubes. Spencer77 under one shots. You'll see there. I think it's called Skittermander Fury. Oh no, that's not even close. Uh, I can tell you right now, it is skitter shot. That's what it's called. Skitter shot, and I can show you a. There's the picture from it. Skitter shot. I think I have it as well. Speaking of squirrel moments. Appreciate the love, Zenu. Right back at you, my friend. Glad to see that you've been able to stream the last couple weeks. Yeah, so I've got 3 different ones of the Skittermander series, 3 different one-shots. So if it's something that they like, then we'll probably be doing these one-shots. I am like the bah humbug, of people. Most people love Skittermanders. I'm one of the few people that don't. Um, here it is cover. So there they are in their Skittermanderness. Should be lots of fun. So feel free to check it out. Tell your grandma and like, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out Zenu. Check out Atomic_Hero Squad. Great streamers. Follow them on Twitch. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Whatever else you do, enjoy the rest of your day.